You may already have watched our video about what a journal article is and be wondering which parts of the article are most important and what it all means, what all the different sections of a journal article mean. And that's what this video is going to cover for you. So we're going to look at the anatomy of a journal article. There are lots of headings within a research paper. So we're going to just talk through what kind of information is included in each section, as well as indicating to you what should be read for different purposes at different stages of your study. So for this purpose, I've found an article that I've put a pin in library search, going to my favourites, opening up the article. And here we go. This is the article that's loaded up in front of us now. So first of all is to consider the bibliographic information about that article that's presented at the top. This is all the information that you need to be able to reference this article correctly. So we have got the authors, and if we hover over the names, we can get a little bit more information about them, about where they work and what their job role is. We can see the date that it has been published. We've got the article title, and then the journal that the article is in, as well as the issue information. And then we've got the DOI, which is the link for the article, the digital object identifier. Below all of that information, we have got the start of the article. So on the left-hand side, we've got a contents list, which shows all the different sections of the article, which starts with the abstract. And it's a really good idea to read the abstract of any article that you're considering using, because it gives you a kind of summary of what you're going to find out in this article, and it can tell you whether it's worth reading the rest of it or whether actually it's not going to be relevant to your study. Below the abstract, we have an introduction. This is very similar to the kind of introduction that you might write yourself at the start of an essay, where you're telling your reader what is going to be covered within that article. So if the abstract suggests that it's going to be useful, then read the introduction to confirm that and make sure that it's definitely going to be useful. Below the introduction, we've got a section here called regional setting, and that's quite an unusual heading, but often it might be called the background or rationale. It's setting the scene for the research that's occurred within this article. And in this case, the words regional setting are quite relevant because we're looking at a geographical article here where we're looking at an area within a particular landscape. This section tells you what this piece of research is going to be about. It will provide basic information about that topic, some facts and statistics, so that you fully understand the context of the research that you're about to read. This section may also suggest the aims of the research and set out what the researchers are wanting to find out. The aims may have its own heading within the document instead. Following this, we've got a methods section. The methods will tell you what the researchers did to carry out this piece of research. It will include what equipment they might have used, what methods they've used, whether they used surveys, whether they did observations, whether they carried out experiments, and will give you the details of each of those things. If it's a piece of secondary research, the methods section will explain how they found the literature that they are reviewing in that secondary research. The next section in this article is the results. This is where the researchers will present what they found, and this is often in table form, in statistical form. The raw data is often presented here alongside a narrative analysis of that. Sometimes the researchers analyse the results within the results section, and sometimes there's a separate analysis section. Just scrolling through this results section, we can see we've got tables, charts, maps, and photographs. And then following that, we have the conclusions that the researchers have come to. Sometimes there is a discussion section as well. I think in this case, the researchers have built that into their results. But this is where you'll find out exactly what they have extrapolated from that data, from that information, and what conclusion they've come to as a result. There may also be recommendations made by the researchers here, particularly if it's related to policy and practice. Now, this article has also highlighted the main points and also mentioned the software that was used, and has also included some supplemental material. This might be called the appendix in other pieces of research. Right at the bottom, however, we have got the reference list, so we can see all of the articles that these researchers have referred to while setting the scene and presenting their own results and making comparisons and so on. I've come back up to the abstract just because there's also an option on most journal articles to view a PDF version. So I'm just loading that up now, where we've got exactly the same article, but it's in a slightly different format. This is much better if you wanted to print it or wanted to save it to your computer. So now you're more familiar about what those different sections in the journal article mean and what kind of information might be included at each point. It might be a good idea to think about what you are needing from a journal article. If you are writing an assignment and you want to find some evidence to back up a point you've made, then you may not need to read the whole article. It would be a good idea to focus on reading the abstract and the introduction, and maybe the background or rationale sections, and then the discussion and the conclusion to find that fact, that information that you need. If you're wanting to demonstrate your critical thinking skills, you will want to make some critical points about the literature that you're using. So you should not only read the sections that we've just said, the introduction and the rationale and the background, and the discussion and the conclusion, but also look for the aims that the researchers set out to achieve and the methods that they've used, because you may be able to make a critical point about that. Were the aims and the methods appropriate for the piece of research that's being carried out? You can also look for limitations of the research. That might be the sample size of the research. It might be quite small. It might be the location of the research. Look as well for recommendations that the researchers have made as a result of their research, because you can also make critical points about that. Now, if you are a level 6 student, final year student, or you're doing a master's degree or a PhD, you will absolutely need to think even further about that article and read all of it. So read everything we've just said to read, plus the results, and focus on the analysis of it, whether that's statistical analysis, a thematic analysis, or narrative analysis, because you will need to appraise those methods. So as you're making notes, you should read the whole thing, making note of the aims, any methods used, and points that have been identified within the discussion of the article. I hope after watching this video you feel a bit more confident about accessing journal articles and being able to use them in your work.